So welcome to I hope to be the first of many, what I'll call deck overviews, which we'll be going through how decks develop in overdress, at least in the start. And maybe I'll make some updates throughout the weeks or so, as we'll see how the deck finalizes over the many tournaments. So today I'll be talking about Bastion, which is the vanguard for Keter Century. So Bastion, for those who are still new to it, is a group 3 focus deck, which runs between usually 20 to even 26 grid trees in some cases, and uses that odd ratio to squeeze in powerful units to overwhelm the opponent with multiple attacks and just high numbers in general. He has some of the strongest advantage building in overdress for the moment, although it has its weakness of course running so many grid trees, making it rather vanilla in the early game and just prone to rush in general. So without ado, let's just cover the main stuff. So I won't get too much detail of the right deck, but basically when you write rooks on top of forts, you can reveal 2 gate trees right hand to call the top card of your deck if it's a unit. Rooks can draw your card, if you write Bastion, and reveal 3 gate trees in hand. Then Bastion, when he checks the gate tree at the end of battle, you can then discard a card to raise it in 1 regard and give it 10k, give it a deck, usually 4 attacks per turn. Of course, Rooks also functions as a powerful booster. So without ado, let's cover some of the regards. We'll start with actual Null's Coca-Bill, which is the main shield value getting card for Bastion. As I mentioned before, Bastion has a problem handling rush, meaning going second. It can actually suffer against decks like Stoshia or even like Barngate to some extent. Orpheus, yeah. So then what the Coca-Bill does, it gets shield value for every 2 good trees on your vanguard, rearguard, or guardian circle, which counts itself. So this makes it very powerful for helping Bastion survive longer. Of course, this requires Apex Ruler version to be a vanguard. This is only live on turn 3. Next is Darkstream Dragon. Similar to Coca-Bill, which answers the problem with shield value, Darkstream Dragon tries to answer of how do you form a perfect board. After all, grid trees don't naturally have boosts. So here we have Darkstream Dragon, which will cause a Soul Blast 2, and you control 3 or more grid 3 units, which most of the skills have. All your grid trees get boost at the end of turn. So this helps form good numbers with Bastions, and just generally all your grid trees as a 13k plus 13k plus Bastions 2+2 is a 30k line already. Then we have Rough Looks, which puts itself the soul to give one of your regards, grid 3 regards in particular, 10,000 until end of turn. So this is usually what you give to maintain soul for costs like Darkstream, and also power up regards, which you can then restand with Bastion. Now to cover the high rarity and the order. Let's cover Grand Heavenly Sword Elden. So this is probably Bastion's most staple card, which says Con plus 2, so plus 1. When you call him, you can choose a card from your hand and call it. If it's a grade 3, you draw 2 cards. Then, as a rearguard, when it attacks, you've got 3 or more grade 3 units, it gets 5k until the end of turn. So this skill can actually stack throughout the game. Throughout the turn rather. So let's say you take it for like minimum 20k for the first attack. When you resend this, you will get another 10k from Bastion, and you also get another 5k when it takes another attack, making it a plus 15 for the next attack. And then next is Facade, the main way Keter pressures and maintains its how high Con Blast cost and Soul Blast cost is received with these 2 cards. So Facade has an effect when it hits anything. You cannot charge 1 and Soul Charge 1. This is not once per turn either, so you can pressure with this twice if you choose to focus on this during the turn. Also, as a rearguard, is another skill where if this resists, so it can't be chosen by opponent card's effect. So cards like Varina cannot target it, Tier Square Sorceress cannot target it, and of course, Prison cannot target it. It makes it a very reliable rearguard to have throughout the game, as it basically cannot be removed unless by battle. The only exception, I think, probably Barometers for the moment, yeah. Then the last key card I will highlight is the Our Holy Judgment Cometh, which is the Order from Trial deck. Con plus 2, draw 2 cards, choose 1 unit and use 5k at the end of turn. So similar to Elden, but it's an order card. Normally, most builds prefer to run only Elden, but because Vanguard is such a consistency game. Playing additional copies of these draw 2s can actually be rather helpful. So these cover the main core cards, so I'll show you them more of a, I guess, simple deck of them a bit later. Now I'll cover the utility options, which you often see being played. So we see Lapisto over here, which is a card designed for Hexort mostly, I feel. But what it does is, when you check a trigger, Combust 2, it resends itself and give it 5k. So with Bastion, you can get up to 5 attacks a turn with this card, which is rather game winning. Especially when you combine Personal Right and Castle like Rough Look in the mix. Next is Solaria, which is generally a way to maintain advantage when you discard a card during your turn. Discard itself, I mean. Combust 1, Solos 1, you draw a card. It's less counterblast than Commoth and Elden, so some people do run it as a way to maintain more card advantage. Then Fanul, you rarely see this card being played, but when you do, it's usually a one-off. So what it does is, if you've got 3 or more good 3 hits, you can counterblast 2 to give you a crit at the end of battle. Note that when you resend this, it will not maintain the extra crit. So it's pretty hefty for a kind of not so worth it win condition. I don't run Lapisto at that point. Then we have Full Tuxedo, which is our Grade 3 Blitz order. So with 3 more Grade 3 units, 3 more units actually. One of your units get 15k at the end of battle. Pretty solid card if you want more shield, especially if you're running a very high grade count. Then we are seeing Sword of Judgment over here, which both decks one of your opponent's columns by choosing one regard. Kind of a good removal. Another card to consider is Tears of Sorceress over here, which does similar thing for Combust 1, although only with the front row. Then for other slots, as you're playing so many grade 3s, generally our grade 1 and grade 2 slots are usually devoted to perfect cards, and maybe rooks, but other options include Painkiller Angel, which is a flexible grade 1, which you carry it yourself at the end of battle to draw your card. Very easy to help you play some early game, and also just as having as a booster until you can replace it. Tartan is another card that's commonly played in lower grade 3 variants, I'd say, which basically says when you place it on regular circle, so +1, you rest it, you look at the total cost of your deck, and you can manipulate them by putting one to the top, one to the bottom. So this helps you guarantee what you want at the top of your deck. Not guarantee, rather it helps you plan out your turn properly. So let's say you see a grade 3, you can play with that in mind. Or if you don't see a single grade 3, you can just like, okay, let's just play one trigger and just hope for the next card. And a lot of nuances like that. So with that, let's move on to some, I guess, CFA. I'll just show you on CFA how the deck generally runs. So with Bastion, you generally mulligan hard for 2 grade 3s, sometimes 3 if you're very lucky. Yeah, just for the sake example, so let's say it's pretty easy, it's a reasonable high amount. So let's say we do open at least 2, right? Okay. Let's say you open at least 2 grade 3. This is a pretty standard hand for Bastion. Okay, let's just look to the hand right now. Yeah. The reason why I'm not testing hands because I'm putting some cards here to showcase them off. So yeah, so what you do with Bastion is you just discard the non-grade 3s, maybe keep 1 or 2. You write into forts. Yeah. And your turn. Next turn, you take 1 damage. Stand and draw. We draw 13 over here. Write forts. Then reveal 2 grade 3 in your hand. Then you can sprinkle top of your deck. So you like Facade. Oh nice, not bad. Against qualities to rush you want. Usually you keep it in hand. Then attack. Yep. And then next turn damage check. So generally this way it's a good example to show how good Bastion is. So it's getting like, I'll say in this case probably Doctrine. We write into Bastion. Then Bastion skill will give 2 to the front to every grade 3 unit. So this is the base. We call Elden out. Combust 2. So +1. You call let's say call the grade 3 is not that good, then you draw 2 cards. Yeah. Okay, actually Doctrine will be better. Yeah. Let's call Doctrine instead. Yeah. Then Bastion give everyone 2k. Then cards like Darkstream can extend this even more by suppressing 2. You all get 3 units boost. So on turn 2 with 2 con blasts, you can form this type of boards rather easily. So As in practice, these numbers are very strong against grade 2 vanguards, making Bastion one of the strongest turn 3 decks, despite its weak turn 1 and turn 2. What she's like 20k, 30k, create bomb there, create bomb there. But if you do check a grade 3, even if you don't check trigger, right? If you do check a grade 3, you can restand this. And if you discard it for Bastion, will get another 10k power. And then discard open stack. So note these numbers are formed without persona, right? Which makes it like very explosive on turn 3, as long as Elden is there. That's the reason why we do play comma sometimes, as without Elden you can save a way to draw into more cards. Yeah. And you see there I almost didn't draw it. Then the rough look like over here. Basically, generally you call it out with Elden, where you can then put it to soul. So what a common player will do is like Elden into rough look to boss 1, put rough look into soul immediately, give it 10k power here to get swing. So this will be like 25k on the base, which is very strong. And for thought over here, has a skill when it hits, he can counter soul charge 1, so this pressures. Having a booster hit generally helps to pressure he counter charge 1, soul charge 1. Very useful to have. And then the other options are like pistol. So basically the idea for pistol is that if you happen to have a grade 3 and trigger on top of the deck by some lucky move, then you can actually bag on such a high role play, let's call it, like something like this. Let's go like Elden swing, pistol swing, Bastion swing, check grade 3, okay, check trigger, crit power there, combust 2, pistol, and Bastion can withstand this, yeah. So this is why some ideas why they play these cards. This card's pretty similar in that regard. I'll for the first attack. Then Solaria generally is used when you want this card one combust open. Just when you restand a grade 3, you can discard it from your hand. The combust 1, solar sun to just draw a card. Also maintains the card advantage. Yeah. So that's generally how the deck works. So generally the deck just from turn onwards works on forming columns like this, which are all hit at minimum of 20k shield from your opponent, even without persona right. Of Elden is already 18k on its own. If persona right is 28k, which is really amazing. So this of course kill with persona right, and this is what makes Bastion one of the most feared decks of set 1, in my opinion. Now let's cover some early deck lists that we've seen being tested. So let's cover some of the ones we see. So this is one from Fila030, which tops in Japan. Pretty small tournament, but hey, it's okay. We're still in the pandemic after all. So Dark Strains, Eldens, pretty standard stuff. Hopeful Tuxedo, as this list only runs 3 boosters. I guess he wants to try out the options over here. Interesting to rough look. I generally prefer 4, but I guess if 4 slot, you can afford it. Then we have Ryan Kai, a very well-known player in generally the world, who's part of WCC and he's from Malaysia, so this is his list. 4 Elden, 4 Full Sword, 4 Dark Strain, 4 Tokabil, 2/2, 3 both Tuxedo, 4 draws, yeah. So generally a very, I guess, I wouldn't say standard because he does not run Commerce as a draw engine, but he does run this to kind of make up for it. He does play 7 shield options, which is interesting. Maybe one of the best way to play Bastion, maybe? I'll have to give it a try. Then this is one from Heikako 2020, which is from Japan also. So pretty centralized list, something similar to what I've been testing out. Only this guy doesn't play draw triggers, he plays front usually. You can't see it from here, but they are front triggers. So it's entirely aggro trigger lineup. 4 Full Sword, 4 Elden, 4 Rough Loop, Pure Power, 4 Dark Train Dragon. Very consistent in my opinion. 3 Commerce, even 4 Solaria, which I'm not really a big fan of as he's not running the shield value cards, but I guess if this much card advantage, you can just steamroll the opponent if your offensive triggers. Now I'll move on to Singapore, which is TV Gaming Channel. So this is the 2nd place and a 4th place. So this is the 2nd place deck. Similar ideas here. 3 Commerce, guarantee 4 thoughts, rough looks, Coca Bills, 2 light pistol tag. Generally 8 crit, 3 draw, 1 over trigger. Only right deck. So it's on the all grade 3 lineups of decks. Now we'll cover from Taiwan, similar idea. all grade 3s, 1 Lapito stack, only 2 Sentials. That's interesting actually. I don't really agree with this. I think having some 4.Gs is still pretty essential. Oh yeah, if I forget the 4th place one, which is, yeah, this one over here. This one runs basically similar things, but has 2 tech grade ones. So generally most decks fall into the category of falling into one of these deck lists. So one of them you will see is something I'm testing with, which is something I call like balanced Bastion. It plays only 20 grade 3s and plays a lot of boosters to make up for it. So what you lose in grade 3 checking power and all that, you gain some of early game and defense with early game guards. Throughout this list you want, that train is reduced because to make way of more since you already have more boosters in general. And then the other type of these lists we've seen is like the kind of in between. I think it's this one, yeah, something like this. So it's both are pretty flex, but these 3 slots are basically for any boosters. Usually Rooks, as it's a 15k, and it's a pseudo grade 3 in by itself. Oh, of course, we've seen the last one. We've seen the very YOLO ones, which display a ton of grade 3s. As we see with like so many variants of the deck. So I hope this has given you a good overview of how Bastion is being played from week 0 to week 1. Personally, I feel people are not rushing the deck enough for the moment, so maybe that's why we see such a high representation rate for the moment. Of course, this could change as the meta develops, and even festival collections along the way, so you'll see some new cards for all the decks actually. Personally, I feel Bastion will remain strong. May not be the top deck in overall, but I still feel its weaknesses are so minimal if your opponent does not rush you. So with that, I hope you all enjoy this. Maybe you want to know other decks, I could do some if you're interested. I'm thinking of doing overdress and maybe Hexorb actually. So with that, thanks. See you next video maybe.